UWI lecturer and vlogger Rhoda believes that the emergency powers regulations was drafted to stifle opposition views and intimidate whistleblowers.
You're creating a particular environment of censorship for us, and in creating that environment of censorship for us, you are also putting out a message to persons who would be providing us with information. So it's anti-expression, it's also anti-whistleblower. And the irony here is, of course, that the United National Congress, when it was in opposition, was a party that was in favor of whistleblower legislation.
According to Section 11 of the Emergency Powers Regulation, no one shall, be it orally or otherwise, attempt to influence public opinion in a manner likely to be prejudicial to public safety or have any article with the intent to do so. President of the Media Association, Priya Bihari, says while the section is not new, he hopes that the authorities act responsibly when enforcing the law.
We have every confidence that the authorities will apply the regulations responsibly and in keeping with constitutional safeguards and protections. At the same time, we respectfully urge a clear and narrow interpretation, transparency in its application, and accessible avenues for concerns to be addressed.
Shiva Parasram, who works with companies to decrease risk, digital or otherwise, says there is no need to be concerned.
I don't really think there's a need to be fearful for it because you just have to choose your wording carefully. So if you just take a couple moments to, not just type and hit enter and post or whatever, you just take a couple moments to just word carefully, I don't think you would have any issue to express your voice or anything like that. But it's just, like I said, it's the wording, I think, what would actually matter.
But for Barrett, who is known for her biting online criticism, says she intends to be savvy in her posts but not muzzled. She says the concern that the regulation was placed to stifle dissent isn't new, but she has been preparing for it.
I knew the minute I started speaking out against them. I knew the minute Roger Alexander started talking about adopting measures that he has seen in China. The minute Barry Padarak echoed support for him and that. The minute any number of other persons within the government started echoing support for use of oppressive measures and censorship measures like that, I knew that this was going to be the next step.
The misuse of social media saw at least 2 people during the last state of emergency detained for comments made. They were eventually released without charge. As Homeland Security Minister Roger Alexander warned last year, those who abuse social media could be held accountable. Jensen Lavend, CNC3 News.
Fact check, Rhoda. The provision you highlighted was already included in the previous state of emergency regulations under the Pnm government before the current UNSERA SW. 1. The clause in your image, Regulation 11. The section shown states, "No person shall endeavor, whether orally or otherwise, to influence public opinion in a manner likely to be prejudicial to public safety." This is Regulation 11 of the Emergency Powers Regulations, 2026. 2. It existed in the previous SOE as well. Reporting on the current regulations confirms that the same provision existed in the earlier SOE regulations that were in force from July 18, 2025 to January 31, 2026. In other words, the 2026 UNC SOE regulations include Regulation 11. The 2025 early SOE under the previous administration already had essentially the same wording. 3. The earlier regulations also covered statements influencing public opinion. Legal summaries of the earlier emergency regulations noted that police could search or act where offenses involved making statements to influence public opinion in a manner likely to be prejudicial to public safety. 4. Bottom line. Yes, the clause about influencing public opinion existed in the previous SOE regulations. It was not newly created in the current SOE. It is largely a continuation of the earlier emergency regulatory framework used during the previous period. 5. Important nuance. Although the wording existed before, the political debate now centers on how broadly it could be interpreted, especially regarding social media posts, a political commentary, journalism or public criticism.